Good morning, YouTube. It's Beck here from Curated. It's Tuesday. And it's 8:30 in the morning. I'm about to go to Harris Farm to pick up flowers and some kind of morning tea for my Tuesday stitches. I have Emma and Lucy in the shop today, and I thought I'd bring you a day. It's a busy day. There's lots of fabric that's arrived. I haven't had a chance to get it all online. Got orders to fill, people in the shop. What else? Oh, I thought I'd come to you because I just got a lovely email this morning from another patchwork shop owner that has just opened her shop, and she said how useful she finds these videos, and just thought, oh, well, that's nice. It's funny, the videos that I enjoy most, I've got two that I really like. Amanda's Mercantile, and she's a young kind of vintage booth holder in the US, and she does some markets. I really enjoy her videos. She does sourcing videos and just like setting up booths and just all the lovely things. And then the other one I've really been enjoying lately is Elegantly Knackered Style. Now they are renovating an old little, or maybe not little, farmhouse. She does sourcing of antiques as well, and she's quite stylish, I guess, and she goes through what she's wearing and all the things. Now, I was watching her video last night when I was sewing, and she was saying, oh, people are cross at her content. Like, we're not going to make it right for everybody. If it's not right for you, I'm sorry. Like, we're just little people trying to do the right thing for whatever we're trying to do. Also, I just wanted to say on that note, I got a couple of snarky messages from people like, please give me the information I've asked for. I get so many messages, so many emails, so many direct messages, on Facebook, on Instagram, emails, on YouTube. I really try to respond to them, but I'm living a really busy life. There are there's lots of kids still, or adult kids now, 2 adult kids now, but 2 teen and a tween. And, I'm running a business, and the business is busy. And on top of like running the shop, I'm writing patterns and kind of trying to develop ideas behind the scenes. So I'm trying my best. I promise. If I don't answer you, please don't be snarky with me. Okay, let's see how I go. The flowers are looking a little bit past their best because it's been Mother's Day, so I assume they all got in. And the other problem is flowers don't last long in our shop because of the aircon, so we need to get something quite fresh. Okay, I'll show you what I get. So I just picked up some Easter daisies, which I've now put here, and I've put some in the bathroom. I'll actually take you into the bathroom to show you, because I don't think, in exciting news, you will have ever seen the bathroom in the shop. These are from fabrics I just need to cut lollies of. That's the extra mum and son that arrived. Lots and lots of new fabrics. These ones are kind of yarn dyed wovens, a seersucker, and they're printed. They say they're 100% cotton. They feel like linen to both Lucy and I. Gingham cupboard's looking a little bit empty because there's some gingham over there. Anyway, the bathroom is through here, and welcome. Oh, hey Emma. Emma's just doing her hair here in the mirror. The bathroom is the biggest bathroom, you have ever seen for accessibility reasons. So there is actually a toilet in here, but I did to make it a little bit less kind of industrial with some flowers in here as well. I'm wearing one of my favorite dresses, although I don't like to wear it. I like the look of it. I don't like to wear it. I don't know. And I'm having trouble, like on a with my hair, I'm thinking of going back to whatever my natural color is, which seems to be nondescript and kind of a bit of gray in there as well now, which is just delightful. But you know, that's a difficult process. Anyway, I'm going over to the tea area. I'm gonna walk a bit slowly and I'll do a proper run through of the shop a bit later, but we've got to get ready for opening. So just noticed that I needed to stock up some of the coffee pods. So I have some more to put in our coffee pod machine. There's my granny chic bag. And so the fabrics that were on the desk before, they are online. These ones are all not online yet. I got the most massive delivery. And I've gone a little bit quirky with some. It's because lots of people have come into the shop and asked about cheetah prints. And I've been like, oh yes, here's a cheetah print. And they're like looking at it and that is not what we mean by a cheetah print. And then I worked out they're after an animal print and I'm talking about cheetah, CHEATER, like a cheat quilt print. Anyway, so I have got some animal print into the shop, which is a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And I've got some other kind of quirkies as well, which I need to get online. This one's a phone and then this gorgeous little rabbit. The crab is just so cute. This one is 100% linen and it's very fine and very beautiful. It's by Hoka. And I don't know, I think I probably chose that because of the green. It's quite expensive, like it's coming quite high. And then I also got a couple of prints, one with a Waratah, and I can't remember, maybe that's another Waratah or a Banksia, I'm not sure. But people come in sometimes and ask for Australian fabrics because they're traveling and I didn't have any, so I'm going to have some. Then some beautiful 7-berry florals and some other lovely florals, but I'll come back to that because I've got to get ready. Okay, so I'm not sure where Emma and Lucy have got to because nobody's over here, but this is when we're Tuesday stitching. We're looking like it's a lot of catching as well as stitching, but it's such a fun, lovely group. And lots of these girls have been with me since right from when I first did sit and sews at the tiny other shop. So fun. Hello again. It is now Thursday. I didn't get very far on Tuesday with my video. Like, it was a super busy day, but I thought I'd pop back on and say hello and also take you on a tour of the shop. Lucy is in with me today. It is very wet and miserable in Newcastle, so I suspect it'll be a quiet day. And in fact, everybody was like really hugging the door because it's raining, but they weren't coming in. If people are walking past, so I've locked the door, and we'll open it obviously if a customer comes, but just to keep it dry in here because it's so wet. Let me show you around the shop, which is looking really full. Okay. And I'm really sorry I start each little clip with okay. I've noticed I do it and it really annoys me, so I imagine it really annoys you. We've only got a little bit of petite pan at the moment, and I will restock, but they're out of lots of the ones that I want, and the shipping is really expensive from France, so I want to get bang for my buck, I guess. Moving through the pinks, through the darker pinks, orangey pinks, oranges, reds. We've got a selection of books in store. The yellows, Lucy just said the yellows are really annoying her. They're not in a great color order at the moment. Trying to go slowly, I always go too fast. Purples, a little bit of Christmas fabric just at the top there, and there's some room there. Browns, some neutrals. We have some linens, so we've got some lovely checks. like pink, and I think that's called passion pink, and navy, a little bit of the light pink, beautiful blue denim, and then a natural and a beautiful pink. They're 100% linens. Through to Liberty. So we've kind of got in a rainbow except for, where's my finger? On the end here, which is some Japanese ones we have, because the Japanese are not as long as the traditional ones. So they looked a bit odd when they were in colour order amongst the others. And then we've got Betsy and a Betsy Berry up the top. In store we sell little Liberty lollies. They are always very popular. This little bowl, it's just like, it feels very nice to go through. We've got some vintage bits and pieces in store. I am hoping I'll update you to get onto some vintage bundles for online. I know that it's been a while, people have been asking where they are. And then I've hung this morning this piece over here, which I think looks really lovely. It's always really shadowy in the videos. It's nice and light, I promise, in store. So through to the greens, like a bottle-y green, grass green, kind of a minty green down the bottom, and then through the teals, bit of chartreuse up the top. They're the lovely new Tiny and Mighty, I'm calling them. A stripe, cross, and the micro dot. More teals. Then two blacks and navies and blues. Some ginghams that are longer than normal, so they're just lying down up there. Some more kind of low volumes over here. And then these are our solids. I keep finding the same shades in the solids. Although I was quite pleased to add a purple in there, or lilac I would call it, because I'll show you the quilt that people ask about and why I needed that. So then behind me in the center of kind of the fabric area, we've got lots of threads and some bits and pieces that sometimes are only in store, not online. Like we have the Eco Vita. We do put bundles of those online at times, but we have the whole range in store, and our bundles, lots of Wonderfil threads and beautiful like little French baskets that have our lollies in them, divided into cools and warms. And then round the back, we have some Japanese Liberty bits and pieces. I have one last bundle of Heather Ross by hand. I think it's it might be a ½ meter. Maybe it's a fat quarter bundle. It is on sale. So if you were keen for that, jump on and grab it. And then we have in store as well some little scrap bundles by colour. So that's the main kind of part with the fabric. Over here we have Lucy cutting orders, but we have my patterns and Sue's pattern, the Gosling quilt. I know we've had a number of calls and a number of people in shop saying, where's your vintage geese pattern, where's your It's a Lot pattern? They're with the printer, so they'll be here soon. And then we still have a gingham cupboard, although it doesn't all fit on there, so there's gingham in the shelves as well. And at the moment there's a hexie quilt that I made here, and then a vintage one, and my collection of sewing baskets, and also salt and pepper, Japanese salt and pepper shakers. And at the moment, the fabric that's in the new bundle is just what I listed last night, which is all they're quite quirky, I think. So some animal prints, a bit of floral, a crab, a phone, a beautiful grey and green linen with floral. And then I also still have lots of this beautiful Ruby Star Society here. These prints They are a redesign of some older prints that were made by Ruby Star Society. I think they're really gorgeous. Lucy just said I need to make a bundle of those. I just need more time. And then we moved the little center. It's actually the center of the seedling quilt by Jodie, who's Tales of Cloth. Just here, I just made it into a little wall quilt, and those 3 blocks there were from that quilt as well. This is my little receptacle. I call it a nichos, and it kind of, it's to wish good thoughts into the space. We have the Betsy Sawtooth Star quilt still here. It's very pretty. Like, what's not to love about Betsy? And then Lucy's just working on orders. These are bundles that are mostly sold. She's grabbed some things, picked them to put into bundles, and our wall, or my wall of curiosities, is looking pretty ace, I think. Then we move over here into where our notions are. So we don't have a massive selection of notions, I would say, but they're all ones that I recommend and like myself. We have some patterns by Sandra Boyle, by Jen Kingwell, by Louise Pappas. Pretty sure that's all we have at the second. And then more over here, we've got English paper piecing supplies and Sashiko supplies as well. And also some embroidery floss, and also some little kits for embroidery that I brought home from Japan. Over here we have some vintage sewing baskets that are for sale and some aprons. There's my beautiful geranium that's been with me right from the start, and I'm not sure that it's gone a day without flowering. It just keeps on giving. It is a good plant. Back here, sorry Lucy, you're going to be in the video. Front counter, we have some cards and some little notebooks and things like that. And then that is the Heather Ross Ruby and Bee blenders. Annabelle Wrigley as well. And they are down there and they look very nice in the rainbow. Cushion there is the Starshine cushion from Happy Clappy. Goodness, Lucy. And then we now have a little area of some garment kind of, like, you know, obviously you can use quilting cottons for all of these things and the linens that are in the back corner, but we have some seersuckers. We've got a plain blue and white stripe and a couple of really beautiful ones from Merchant and Mills. And also this beautiful soft Indian cotton bias, some Merchant and Mills patterns, just all the things. So then we move on to, here are our chairs where people like to wait for, normally for their wives or partners. And then turning around, I need to redo this, but I'm thinking Emma and I might get to it tomorrow. She loves doing that kind of stuff. And lots of vintage bits and pieces, and also some more bundles. This little ladder is just here because somebody just bought the, what was it, a beautiful vintage eiderdown that was on it, and I haven't got to putting anything else there. So lots of vintage pieces and some kind of linens, bundles, lots of examples of things that I've made, like textile pinch pots and needle books. And then we have some vintage fabrics. We sell like fat 16ths of vintage fabrics in store, and we have some yo-yos in store. Now I promise I'm going to get to getting those online. Over here we have like another little vintage display and bits and pieces. It actually got quite picked over on Tuesday, so I just moved some stuff around, but really need to give it some attention. That's the North Point quilt on the back of this little couch here, and a little window display, and that's got the Emma cushion and the vintage orange peel cushion is here. And that quilt there is just what I call a kitchen sink quilt, and it's just got it's just squares with all beautiful old fabrics mixed with new. Here is my Gosling quilt. Okay, we had a customer, so I stopped filming for a second. I think I was up to the Gosling quilt, and there's an Orla flimsy as well, and some lovely kind of vintage bits and pieces. And I think Emma just put those there because we sold all the bundles that went with the summertime quilt, and I just haven't got to organising it again yet. And sorry if this goes all flashy because of outside to inside light. These are my little decorations in the window, which I still love. And this little corner over here has got the vintage calendar and some vintage enamelware and a little bag that's a bit wonky, and a door, tiny plate, and this beautiful vintage quilt made into a ironing board cover. So this here was the quilt that I got the purple for. It's a vintage quilt top, and it's really stunning. That's an Edie up there, and then my summertime. Then we have some vintage textiles, which slowly we're building up our supplies of these. I'll show you out the back as well, because I've got lots more. It's pricing and getting them out. They're ironed and clean. And here's my 4th tiny trip quilt. Some pretty tablecloths that are here, and a beautiful piece of art that I picked up from Kate Vella, who's an Australian artist down in Robertson, the Southern Highlands. It's my original Orla quilt on the wall here. I have some Orla quilt bundles, and then we have this beautiful vintage quilt top just draped over our Bluebird sewing machine, and that one's for sale. Like, not the Bluebird, the vintage quilt top. Here's It's a Lot back over here, and a little vintage piece I'm working on, and some more fabrics that we haven't even got online. I just took photos of them before, so hopefully I'll put them up tonight. So some from I think they're Maywood Studios actually, not Art Gallery, and some from Newtex. Little ironing station. Had to move the other ironing board because our vacuum cleaner called Emily keeps trying to mount it. She's very frisky, and then she doesn't vacuum overnight. She gets stuck off the ground. Here is the vintage geese quilt. Patterns are with the printer for that at the moment. Like, it's an old quilt, but it's just a reprint. It's not an old quilt, it's an older design of mine, and just reprinting. And then I've got my 2 kind of bamboo handled bags here at the moment with our tea and coffee station. So this one that was heavily inspired by Fleur Woods, and this one was just some apple doilies that I loved and made into a bag. So, and actually I don't think I've shown the inside is a old tablecloth with cross stitch, which is really lovely. And then, sorry, just have a little look at some stars for a second. The back is a Seven Sisters vintage block that I was gifted actually, and I have just blanket stitched that onto a bit of a French torchon, which is tea towel, and it's on the back of that bag. So chairs are up so that Emily can do her job when she's recharged from her frisky activities overnight. So this is what the shop's looking like. Rain stopped, so we might be able to actually properly open the door. Got chicken scratch, chicken stitch quilt, which was the first quilt I designed, just on the armchair there. And then this is just a block from the cushion here, is just a block from the summertime quilt done in different colours into a cushion, which looks lovely, and that's Dreams Happen quilt over the arm of the armchair. So it's looking quite lovely, and I'll show you out the back. So not as pretty out the back, obviously. I'm gonna go over this way to start with. This shelf here just has extra props that we use around the shop at different times, depending on how much of a product we've got to put in there, or like, you know, what we're trying to display. So they're just extra props. And then this is a very functional but not very pretty packing area. Held orders, some Sobe product, and that's really all that's there. And then here, all of this linen here is ironed, washed, cleaned, sorted, just needs to be priced. I know that's ridiculous. And to go into vintage bundles, this basket here has washed and soaked, etc., linens and fabrics that need to be ironed, and they'll go to our wonderful Suzanne who does the ironing. This cupboard here just has stuff in case we do another market, like that involves some different kind of props and equipment sometimes. And then I am working on organising the vintage fabric. So I am winding them all onto bolts so I can see what I have. So as a bolt empties, I put a vintage fabric on there, and that is just bringing me all sorts of joy. There is a lot more to go. Now that is not all to go on bolts, but I am working my way through it. There is also some woolen blankets there, some beautiful Japanese. I'm going to do some more needlebooks out of the Japanese kimonos. They've been very popular. Some Japanese fabrics that I've brought back that I haven't, like, I bring them back to put into bundles and etc. And we can only do so many at a time. And then just some kind of little display items, I guess, and some threads that I use for various things. Some vintage quilts. The ones on this side are for cutting. The ones on that side are not for cutting, I think. I'm not sure. There's some vintage quilts and some vintage quilt bits just here for needlebook bundles. Up the top there is some sheeting, like vintage sheeting, that I'm not always that keen on vintage sheeting, but those ones I do like. And then I have a couple of fabrics down there earmarked, like they're special ones for the next Gosling bundle. And then I'm not even sure why they're there. I got a little couch, this little blue or tealy kind of aqua couch. And I have to say, very rarely do we sit on it. Otto sat on it last week when he was in here. He was homesick from school for a week, and I made him come in one day to get him to go back to school. There's Emily, our naughty, frisky vacuum cleaner. And I have this cupboard here that is full of vintage lace, etc., trims, all the things. It's really disorganised. Another kind of crappy design wall, which I will put up though somewhere. That's my teaching supplies in here. Some trestle tables. Here is the mum and son, which has just come in from the pre-order. So I'm going to cut those bundles that have already sold. So I'm really sorry. They were very beautiful this round. And then just a work area in the middle, which I'm getting under control. It's not great, but I will be able to cut here today, and I'm working on some vintage stuff. These are blankets that I need to wash, linens sorted into various type and clean and ironed, etc., etc. And then I did pick up this little child's kind of, what is that? Like a little dresser, and I'm going to put teacups on that in display, and some fabric obviously, in the main shop, but I'll hopefully get to that tomorrow. and it will be in a different video maybe. So there's all the teacups ready to go onto there that Emma washed for me on Tuesday. So this is where we're at. This is the shop as it stands. I've been experimenting a little bit with kind of putting together some collages. Really like this one. And then I've got some exciting news, and hopefully it will be online by the time this video comes out. Sashiko Lab from Kyoto is coming to Australia, and she's going to be teaching at our shop. So, and that's the project. I did one with her in Kyoto, and she's so lovely and just fun, and Sashiko is bringing me joy at the moment. It's very methodical and, I don't know, just easy. It's not easy. It's just scratching whatever itch I've got, I guess. So that's the project that Kazoom will be teaching. So here we are, ending on this note. I thought I'd say goodbye. Thanks for being here. I hope you liked seeing the video of the shop. It's a lot of fun, a lot of hard work. Often, I wonder if I can get far enough back so you can see my jeans. Probably not, but I am wearing my jeans that I've kind of embellished with vintage textiles because, you know, why not? Anyway, happy stitching everybody. Thank you for being here.